What if I told you that not only can you escape the rat race, but you can actually save money while you're doing it and get paid to travel the world? Hey, I'm Evan. I've spent 6 of the last 11 years living abroad. I've got 2 passports, a 3rd permanent residence card, and for the last 4 months, I've been traveling full-time building 2 businesses. I've gone through Indonesia, Thailand, Japan, Canada, the USA, and Australia. And here's the kicker. Most people think full-time travel drains your savings. I'm actually saving more money than I did when I was living back in Melbourne with my own apartment. How? Well, things like slow travel, living like a local, and knowing a few kind of cheeky hacks to get free flights and cheap flights or upgrades wherever I go. All of these steps are really easy to implement yourself, so it's not unrealistic if this is something that you want to achieve as well. Here are 9 tips, and if you keep these front of mind, they will allow you to escape the rat race, fly around the world, and make a good amount of money while doing it. So I'm gonna go take a seat next to the pool, get some sun, and I'll share all of my tips with you. Here's a little backstory into who I am and how I got to this stage of full-time travel. Winding back the clock, I grew up in Hollywood. My mum was a singer and my dad was a wrestler. But growing up in Tinseltown was not as glamorous as it sounds, I promise. What it did mean is that I flew from Los Angeles to Melbourne probably 50 times before the age of 10. And that is where this whole travel bug came about. Over the years, I've gone through a lot of different phases, from theatre geek to soccer player, footy player, photographer, writer. I learned a few basic guitar chords here and there, which didn't stick. The point is, phases came and went as often as hairstyles, but there was one thing that was always a constant, and that was travel. So even though full-time travel can sometimes look like this, more often than not, in reality, it's also like this. And there were about 5 years for me where it looked like this, the day-to-day grind. What keeps me grounded is staying active. Hiking, running, playing sports, it's my therapy, especially with all of the highs and lows of full-time travel. And right now, I'm currently building 2 businesses. Art of Mondays, which is an online community for lifestyle founders, people like me who want more than just the 9-to-5 grind. And the second business is the Founder Sports Club, where we ditch suit and tie networking and instead you just meet up with other business owners and play sports. I also helped grow the travel.com and tour scanner, so travel and travel content has been my jam for a while. But right now, the focus is all about creating a life where I can do what I love and make it work for me. So now that you know a little bit about me, let's get into the good stuff. Principle 1 for how to escape the rat race is the big elephant in the room: money. The key here is to find freelance or remote work that can fund your travels. You don't need to be a millionaire to travel. I wasn't, I'm not, hopefully I will be one day. But my point is, you don't need fast cars and yachts and business class flights. You just need to know how to be smart with what you spend and how to save your money on the road as well. In my opinion, there are 3 ways that you can do this. 1, be fully self-sufficient as a freelancer. 2, find a company that allows for remote work. Or 3, start your own business that can be run online. That could be an e-commerce business, an agency, or a community like Art of Mondays. There are so many options for online businesses these days. Or you can go for option 4, which is a mix of the first 3. That's what I'm doing. But whichever one you go for, you need the skills that you can offer from anywhere in the world just with Wi-Fi and a laptop. That could be content creation, email marketing, media buying, web development, customer service, customer support, sales and lead gen, coaching, tutoring, even project management. And if you're not sure where to start, this might help. Think about what comes easy to you that doesn't come easy to others. For me, that thing has usually been writing and travel writing specifically. Then, once you figured out what it is you want to do, start by putting your skills and your work out there for the world to see, even if you're not getting paid for it. That could be in the form of a blog, a YouTube channel, a Behance design portfolio, or code a couple websites. My point is, once you have somewhat of a portfolio, it is much easier to approach brands and offer your services. Or if you decide to go down the remote job pathway, then these blogs or portfolio elements will be a way for you to stand out from the rest of the pack. So it's a win-win. My next tip for making full-time travel sustainable is this: build multiple income streams. Freelancing alone won't cut it forever. And even if it does, you run the risk of being at the whim of clients. So you'll never really know how much money is coming in the door month on month. We need to diversify our incomes. That's how we get stability and freedom. In my case, that's mostly through part-time work from my marketing agency back in Australia and my 2 businesses, the Founder Sports Club and Art of Mondays, which I mentioned earlier. But Here's a cheat code. You can actually do it passively. Things like affiliate marketing, index fund investing, building digital products like courses or ebooks, or even investing in rental properties, these can all create passive income. And then if you stack these income streams, you'll be making money while you sleep. How good's that? Plus, if you can combine that with low-cost living countries like Indonesia or Thailand, you'll see how travel can actually be way cheaper than staying put in one spot. Of course, some of these do need a bit of upfront cash to get started, but the good news is it doesn't have to be significant. Just start small and then go from there. Quick change of scenery because I was absolutely melting in the sun over there. All right, now for one of my favorite topics, and that is mastering the art of travel hacking. It's a great way to make travel sustainable. So let's start with flights. A great place to start is to get yourself a good travel rewards credit card and rack up the frequent flyer points. Of course, credit cards can be dangerous, but if you do treat it like a debit card and you have some common sense about you, then you'll be fine. In Australia, you can get up to 100,000 frequent flyer points just by signing up. That flew me from Tokyo to Montreal twice. And if I'm not using points, then I always check these two sites, Momondo and Kayak. There are thousands of flight comparison websites out there, but through my experience, I find that 9 out of 10 times, these two will offer the cheapest options available. And here's a little bonus tip: if you are using those websites, make sure to always tick include nearby airports. And if you can accommodate some flexibility in your schedule, then choose the option that allows you to see plus or minus 2 days either side of your date. And remember, if you're not in a rush, there's no reason you can't think outside the box. Let's say you want to fly to Budapest. It might actually be a few $100s cheaper to fly to Vienna, and then you could take the train, which is an experience in and of itself. I've done that plenty of times when I wanted to go to Montreal, but I flew to New York and took the train north instead, which is actually one of the world's most beautiful train rides through the mountains and the forests. And if you can combine that with the idea of slow travel, which is basically staying in one place for at least a month, and Airbnb's monthly booking functionality is really helpful for that, then if you do that, you'll save dramatically on all of your costs. Next up, here's a big one. Tip number 4 for traveling full-time is the idea of co-living. I spent 10 days living in a paradise mansion with millionaires in Indonesia. It's not my usual scene, but honestly, it did really open up my eyes to a different way of living. If you're traveling with a crew, like the Art of Mondays community, for example, you can split the cost of the house. Like that villa in Lombok, when we split that amongst 10 people, it was pretty comparable to the average apartment that we'd pay for back in Melbourne or Sydney. Having a community like Art of Mondays or the Founders Sports Club makes this lifestyle way more sustainable because you can pull all your resources together and enjoy experiences that normally would be out of reach for the average person by themselves. Another underrated hack is work exchange programs. In most hostels around the world, you can trade a few hours of work for free accommodation and a few meals as well. I have a lot of friends who've done this, and the beauty is that you're not out of pocket for accommodation. The only thing you're trading is your time. So that means you can take as long as you need to build your own online business if that's what you want to take you to the next level. It also takes a lot of the stress out of traveling because you can effectively stay as long as you like and then move to the next place when you're actually ready, not when your booking expires. Next up, suggestion number 6, and this is tap into your own network. To be honest, I wasn't sure if I should include this because a lot of people, myself included, feel uncomfortable asking for things, asking for favors. I grew up needing to work hard for what I got, so asking for help has always been a bit of a sore spot for me. But once we get over that internal hurdle, the reality is that there are so many people around the world, whether it's friends or friends of friends or family or long-lost cousins, that would be more than happy to help you out. So don't underestimate your network. I've been fortunate enough to have free accommodation, get invited to some exclusive events, and even get some paid work just simply by reaching out to people I know. Of course, like any relationship, whether it's business or personal, you can't be all take and no give, so always try to give as much value as you can in return. Next up, number 7. Live the slow travel lifestyle for maximum savings. I mentioned slow travel earlier, but I want to go into more depth here. Think of it this way. What is the fastest way to burn through your bank account? If you ask me, it's probably a Kentucky-style backpacking trip around Europe where you're hitting up different cities every 2 to 3 days, trying to cram in all the sides and eating out for most meals just because your bucket list is so long and you need to squeeze it all in. This is where slow travel comes into play. Instead of bouncing around from country to country, I personally like to stay in a place for at least a month. Not only do you save on transport, but you can also find better accommodation deals. You have more time to connect with locals, you can get groceries at supermarkets, and overall, I think the biggest benefit is that you can actually live a more authentic experience, just like the people who live in that destination do. Plus, in countries in Eastern Europe, South America, or Asia, the cost of living is usually much lower than places like Australia, the USA, Canada, and the UK. So if that means if you're like me, and you actually do go to one of these spots, you'll wonder why you didn't do it sooner. All right, number 8, almost there. This one's about monetizing your journey. You're already traveling, so why not try to build an audience while you're doing it? You don't need a $5,000 camera to get started. You've actually got an amazing camera in your pocket. This is such an easy layup to start a YouTube channel, create short form videos, or if you don't like filming and editing, maybe you like writing. You could write about your experiences in a blog, or if you don't want to put your own content out in the world, you could always start consulting for people who say, that looks awesome, how do I do that? I'm not making any money from my YouTube channel now, and that's not my intention. For me, it's more about documenting the journey to look back on, but there are countless creators out there who've grown audiences simply by sharing their journeys consistently. And these days, attention is a currency. When you start to hit a few thousand followers or subscribers or readers, that's when you can start to get paid brand deals. I can't tell you the amount of times different tourist attractions have emailed me offering free visits to their restaurant or tourist attraction or lookout just in exchange for me mentioning their venue on my Tour Scanner blog. So if travel content is your thing, just start putting it out there. What's the worst that can happen? But if it's not, that's totally fine too. My advice here is only do it if it's something you actually enjoy. Otherwise, like most things in life, if you're not motivated to do it, it'll be super hard to be consistent. All right, so my last tip, and probably the most important of all of them, is changing our mindset. Most people think that full-time travel is for the rich or for the retired, but that's not true. I am neither of those, and it's simply for anyone who's willing to take the steps, make smart decisions, and commit to building the life that they want. I did it, and you can too. Thanks for sticking around this far. If you're new to the channel, welcome. It'd mean the world to me if you could subscribe. And if you're back and you've been following my journey through Asia and North America for the last few months, or even before then just want to say I appreciate you more than you know. If you've got some other travel hacks, drop them in the comments. I would love to hear them. And if you've got any questions or you want to join me and some of the other founders in the Art of Mondays or Founder Sports Club communities, I'll put all those things in the description as well. So that's a wrap. Thanks for being here, and we'll see you in the next one.